I want to give you my 4 go-to strategies for generating leads. And just to paint a bit of a picture for you, back in April 2020, the world got turned upside down. My world got turned upside down. And originally, I was a school teacher. I was teaching primary education, and I was going to move to the UK, move to London. I'm from Perth, Western Australia. And I was going to go sort of teach there and travel the world and spend my European summers in Italy and go to France and then kind of grind and hustle in London. And I was really looking forward to it. It was sort of me leaving the nest and going on this big adventure. But what happened, obviously, we went into the lockdowns and it didn't really make sense to want to go anywhere really because I was here with my family in Perth and I didn't know what was going to happen. So I decided not to go to the UK. And originally I was literally going to move over just before Easter. And instead I stayed in Perth and I got offered a job. And the job was as a marketing manager and technical sales representative for a water treatment company. Now, keep in mind, I had no background in water treatment whatsoever, knew nothing about it. But I did have a background in agriculture because my family are farmers. So it goes back generations. So I understood a little bit about agriculture. And so we're looking at water treatment for agriculture. I'd also done some freelance marketing consulting in previous years. And that was originally what I'd studied at university. In fact, I always wanted to do that, but I got into teaching. I had my first entrepreneurial venture fail. And I kind of had my family say, hey, just get a job. And that's why I became a teacher. So it's a little bit of my story there for you. But anyway, I end up in this job and I'm in an industry I know nothing about. I'm dealing with trying to sell to farmers, which if you've been to Western Australia, I mean, this place is massive. I'm talking driving thousands of kilometers to go visit clients. You might spend an entire day driving to have one conversation. And yeah, it was full on. And sure enough, I made some good sales, some big projects, and it was high tickets. So we're talking some of these projects were $20,000, some $100,000. One of them was $330,000. And so there were some big projects. So it was worthwhile going to this effort. And in fact, in that sales environment, where I'm selling a very complex product and solution, it's very different to, say, doing retail sales. If you're doing retail sales, you're trying to often just close someone off one particular conversation. But because of the complexity and the amount of conversation back and forth I'd have to have with the clients, building the relationship and building a compelling case for why they should pursue this project was so important. And so I feel like I got a lot of good, healthy sales habits knowing that I couldn't just close someone off one conversation. So it's not about being high pressured or going for a hard sale. It's about really understanding someone's problem and finding a solution that actually is genuinely going to help them. And so that's really my philosophy behind sales and marketing. But you got to understand it's a journey, and what we're talking about today is lead generation. So lead generation is the precursor to sales. So most people are going to say no. Most people are never going to buy. And that's fine and that's normal, and we all do it. You, me, the same. We might be curious, but that doesn't mean we're going to buy. And so a percentage of the people who are your leads, people who are interested in what you do, what you have to offer, and who you are, only a small percentage of those are ever going to buy. So it's important that we really double down on the relationships with those people who are very interested that may buy. But also more broadly, we have to constantly be bringing in new people, understanding that, hey, some people of those people say no right now. That no might become a yes, but in months, maybe even years down the line. I've had sales that I met one person literally like a year and a half ago, and then they only just make a decision today. I'm serious. Like with some of these water treatment projects, because sometimes the stars align, things change in their world, and now's the time for them to want to take that next step. So you just need to be ready for that. And so you want to make sure you're nurturing and being intentional with lots of different relationships and keeping tabs on where people are at, what's their motivations, what's going on in their world. And that way, when someone is actually ready to make a purchasing decision, hopefully they choose you rather than their alternatives, or worse yet, they do nothing, which was my biggest, you talk about objections in sales. One of the biggest objections you have to deal with is people's option to just do nothing. Like if someone's trying to lose weight, They might need to lose weight. They could use your program, that gym, this gym, that plan, meal plan, a keto diet, vegan diet, whatever it may be. But are they choosing to go with you? Or worse yet, are they just going to do nothing and postpone it another month, another 3 months, another year? And that's often what you're dealing with, is people's inertia of having this option, or seeming this option, to do nothing. And I will get to that, because that is actually why yourself and me, we struggle with lead generation, because there's sometimes a little bit of inertia, and we'll move into that. So bringing this back to you and that inertia. So what this can often look like is you'll be in this place where you have feast and famine when it comes to sales, when it comes to leads, where at one point you might be chock-a-block with work. It's like me in the wedding season. If I'm DJing, I've got tons of gigs on, it's all good, and I'm busy every weekend just doing the gigs, preparing for the next one, that you can forget to generate new leads, to build new relationships, get new fresh blood, fresh attention to your brand, to your business. And then what happens is, all of a sudden, that season of busyness wears off. We had lots of clients, you had lots of sales, business was busy, and things slow down. And what that means is, if every time your business slows down, or things get quieter, or COVID happens, or there's a recession or something like this and things slow down, all that really says, I mean, there can be other variables, but one of the things that might be saying, and often is that you didn't have a system or things in place to consistently generate new leads for your business. So only a percentage of those leads are going to buy, but if you suddenly find that things run dry, actually your problem probably started 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago. Because if you had enough relationships, if you had enough leads and people in the pipeline, like I said, some people aren't buying today. Some people are going to make a buying decision 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. And that's actually the majority of the marketplace. So if you're in this place where you're like, oh no, there's no sales, it was feast and now it's famine, actually the problem started a long time ago. And so what we need to do, just going to fix my lens here. There you go. What we actually need to do, we need to put some things in place to make sure that we don't end up in this famine scenario where it doesn't feel like there's this drought in sales or in leads, because we have things in place to make sure that we have this big pool of people that are being nurtured, that when they are finally ready to make a sale, we can bring them across the line. And also too, if you have a very full pipeline and you've got this long-term view of going, you know what, I'm not after the people trying to buy today, although that's great, and I want to be there for those people that are ready to make that decision. It's about going, well, you know what, I'm going to be nurturing relationships with those people that are 3 months out, 6 months out, 12 months out, 24 months out. And so that I'm going to have this consistent, no matter where people are at, what stage of awareness, where they're at in facing that problem, whether it's weight loss, water treatment, planning a wedding, whatever it may be. So when they are finally ready to make that decision, like when they're ready to book that me as a wedding DJ, even though they've got engaged 2 years ago, if they knew about me 12 months ago, they now reach the point, hey, I need a DJ. And there was that Curtis guy I spoke with, and I've seen some of his Instagram stories and some of his content. Maybe I'll inquire with him. And then hopefully, if I've built the relationship, they're going to choose me over their other options. So that's the importance of lead generation, but it's understanding that you need to get in on the game ahead of time. So with all that kind of prefaced in, hopefully we're on the same wavelength here. What you've got to realize is that your biggest problem in building your brand, in growing your business sustainably to avoid these feast and famines and winters and droughts, is to make sure that you get rid of enemy number one. And the enemy is obscurity. So that's kind of the title of this whole video, is Obscurity is the Enemy. And if you can remember what we talk about today and just remember that one phrase, then all of this is just going to come clear to you. So understand that obscurity is the enemy, that you need to play the long game in order to beat obscurity. And there's 4 strategies, which we're now going to cover, into how you can come out of obscurity. And if you do these 4 things consistently, then that's how you're going to win this game in the long term. Now, this is not a overnight, everything suddenly gets better, but I guarantee you that if you do these 4 things for 12 to 24 months and you do a lot of it, that you are going to radically change your business and your brand, and you're going to reach this place of sustainable growth because you're sowing seeds now that you're going to reap a harvest for in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, 12 months' time. Are you with me? Hopefully you are. And so strategy number 1, the first way we can generate leads is warm outreach. And what this looks like is you getting referrals, you being introduced by someone, a previous customer referring you, or someone who's a friend or a family tells someone about your business, or they say, hey, Kurt, meet John. John's planning a wedding. He just proposed to his fiance, blah, blah, blah. Hey, maybe you can have a chat about being the DJ, or literally I'm out for coffee and someone, says, hey, by the way, I passed your number on to so-and-so. And so there's this element of networking, and warm introductions is a great way to build new leads. And you've just got to be open to that and having those kind of conversations with people, and actively making time in your week for that to happen. And then, or asking people to make you introductions. That's one way to generate leads. And that's probably the preferred way of doing outreach. However, maybe you're like I've been in the water treatment industry, or even when I started out, well, weddings, I kind of had a head start, but in the water treatment industry, and even now doing the marketing, my world in marketing is a lot smaller than my world in weddings. And when I was in water treatment, I knew no one. We had a few people in our database, but basically I was starting from scratch. And so all my interactions were cold. In fact, all but one sale that I made in that entire job for the 3 years I was doing it were from originally cold interactions. So it was me meeting a stranger, building a relationship. Either I did a talk in public, I ran an ad, I wrote an article, a piece of content, or I went to a function or something, I handed out some business cards, and I started having conversations with strangers. And then once I had a conversation with that stranger, build the relationship, we keep touching up, keep following up, they read some content, they trust me as an expert and who's someone who's uniquely positioned to help them. And then eventually that lead turns into a sale after a period of time. So there's warm outreach, there's cold outreach, which, no one likes cold calling. No one likes emailing strangers. No one likes walking up to a stranger at a conference or an event. But this is what is necessary for you to generate new leads, because really there's just 4 ways. So those are the first 2. The next one is content. And the internet's been a bit of a game changer in that way, in that we have essentially free media distribution now, where you can be on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You can write one article if it's less than 2,200 characters, and I can schedule that to be posted on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook all at once, which is very time effective. But I can also create videos like this and put this on YouTube, put this on my website. Then I can run it through some AI and chop it up into clips. And so I can create a lot of content from just a little bit of effort or one core set of ideas. And what you're trying to do with content is you're trying to establish yourself as an expert and as an authority in your given field or trade or area of expertise. But you're also trying to speak to people who might have the problems that you can help solve. You're trying to relate to them, to engage with them, build a sense of rapport. And I think when you do that well, then some of the people that consume your content, albeit maybe a small percentage, will reach out to you and be inbound rather than you going out cold or warm trying to outreach. You've got people inbound coming to you, and then you can start the relationship. They become leads, and then you nurture them, and then hopefully they become a sale. And then the last strategy number 4. So we've had number 1 was warm outreach. Number 2, cold outreach. Number 3 is content. And number 4, and content needs to have call to actions, by the way, which means, hey, do you like this article, or did you watch this video? Then go do this. So at the end of this video, I'm going to invite you to have a conversation with me about what we've covered in this topic, and maybe I can help you, and then we can start building a relationship together. I'm not expecting you to buy anything tomorrow. Maybe it's 12 months from now, or not at all. Who knows? But if you are interested in doing that, by the way, go to callwithkurt.com. That's Kurt with a C. So CALLWITH Kurt, CURT.com, callwithkurt.com, and you can jump on a call with me. But so that's the idea. You have content like this, like an article, with a call to action, and that's where you can generate leads. And then the last one is paid ads. So number 4 is paid ads. And paid ads is really just you create content, you put it in front of a cold audience, and then hope that some of those people either start following your brand, fill out a form or a lead, or take an action or give you a call. So paid ads is really just kind of cold outreach with content, but it's kind of done on steroids because you're paying to get your stuff put in front of people. So I like to think of paid ads as sort of the gasoline that you put on a fire that's already smoldering. So if you're already doing lots of cold and warm outreach and content, then paid ads is just a way of sort of enhancing that. The other thing that I've learned in terms of generating leads, so those are the 4 strategies, and this is really, really powerful. I learned this from a guy called Alex Hormozi, and he talks about the rule of 100. And what we've got to understand, and what's often disheartening about doing cold calls or even just networking or writing content, is we have to do a lot of it, much more than we'd ever expect. Because if you only dabble, then you're not really going to get results. The results and the output comes from the consistency of doing a lot of volume. I know I've just said a lot of words there. So it's the consistency of doing lots of content, of lots of calls, of lots of networking that is ultimately going to lead you to consistent lead flow so that you never get into this place of feast and famine again. And so what we need to do is have systems in place to make sure that that happens. So the rule of 100 is this. The rule of 100 is spend $100 a day on ads, or get 100 leads a day from whatever which way source, or do 100 cold calls, 100 warm calls, create 100 pieces of content in a month. So if you're doing enough volume, if you've got lots of articles and people can see that your brand is everywhere all the time online, when you're dealing with people constantly, if you call 100 people, maybe 5 of those will refer you to someone else. Maybe 3% of those become customers. So people go through life, and this is funny to me because I think this is a belief that exists really outside of the sales and marketing world, that people are very, very, they get sort of uptight about rejection. And look, rejection is normal. It's funny to me that if you were to invite people to a dinner party or an event, and less than, say, 50% of the people you invite don't rock up or can't come, make up an excuse, whatever, that you'd walk away extremely disheartened. But some people are like that with business. In fact, sometimes they're even expecting like 90% of the people to rock up. So let's say they write an ad and they say, or they send out an email to their database of previous clients or even strangers, and they get very little response rate. Maybe they get like one person respond and they emailed 100 people and they're like, well, what a waste of time. No one really cared. No one really engaged with it. I'm like, 1% conversion, that's a starting point. What if we could get that to 2 out of 100? See, the funny thing is, like, most people won't buy. Most people won't buy now. There's all sorts of things going on in their world. And most people aren't saying no as a rejection of you. They're really maybe just saying not yet, not now. And so what we want to do is continually make offers. And if 3% of people are going to become a lead, are going to buy, are going to take the action that you want them to, then just purely based on the numbers, if we just increase our output, rule of 100, then we increase the volume, then that percentage is probably still the same. So if you want to make a certain amount of money, if you want to have a certain amount of leads, then it's just going to require a certain level of output from you. So we want to obviously do the thing that is most efficient. Maybe you don't have money to run ads. Maybe you can run ads and you don't have time to pick up the phone and call people. You could be in any one of those 4 boats, and that's going to determine, which of those 4 strategies you decide to double down on. But the idea is increase the input, as in you input a lot of effort in those areas. You do the rule of 100, and then you will get eventually the results that you're chasing. So that's the what here. That's, the idea is obscurity is the enemy. We beat obscurity by being extremely consistent with these 4 strategies for generating leads, and therefore we get out of this feast and famine, drought, winter scenario in our business, and it can just be this evergreen harvest. Now, the beauty of this, and what I want you to sort of imagine and why this is important, is because stress comes a lot of times in business because we get stuck in the place of obscurity. It feels like we put in effort, but at the moment we stop putting in the effort, everything stops. And there's a level of truth to that. But here's the other thing, is that our efforts, when it comes to content, building relationships, they compound over time. So it becomes a multiplier effect. Like if I meet 100 people, some of those people are going to introduce me to someone else. and then they'll introduce me to someone else. So if I keep doing that 100, that word of mouth is spreading, and I'm actually starting to multiply and compound my efforts. Same for right content. If I grow my audience, people start sharing the content, people leave comments, people see that I'm posting all the time, and therefore they go, well, hey, this guy really knows what he's talking about. Look how much he's writing about. Look how much content he's putting out. And so our efforts actually compound. And even if you do a YouTube video, some people have YouTube videos that are 10 years old that still generate leads for their business. So something they did 10 years ago is still being fruitful and producing results. Isn't that awesome? So if you can put in enough effort, not only are you going to see a return into somewhat proportional to the effort you put in, but it's actually going to compound over time. So if you're able to do more, it's going to compound even more. So I think that's really, really powerful. And then the second thing is, what it's going to do is, if you actually are able to get out of this place of obscurity by doing the rule of 100, executing on warm outreach, cold outreach, content creation, and paid ads, if you do all four of these things, ideally, or at least one of them a lot, then what's going to happen is you're going to start having predictability and sustainability in your business. If you have a constant stream of leads, new attention, new followers, new inquiries, then you're going to have a steady stream of sales, which might mean then that you can hire a new salesperson, you can get someone to be on your marketing team, you can get a personal assistant, you can scale up whatever it is that you're doing, and you can start delegating, because if you have predictability and you have additional resources because you're getting more leads and more sales, it's going to unlock the lifestyle and the business that you ultimately want to build. And so that's why it's really, really important to do the rule of 100, do these 4 lead strategies, and defeat the enemy, which is obscurity. So here's the application here. Here's the takeaway. And this is what I want you to write down. There's 3 things you can do. 3 things you can do. So you know what the 4 strategies are. You know about the rule of 100. The first thing you need to do is you need to commit to doing 1 to 4. I'm going to read my notes here. You need to commit to doing 1 to 4 of the activities and apply the rule of 100. So work out, based on your resources, your time, where you're at, which of those 4 strategies, or maybe all of them, can you commit to? Number 2, you need to get some systems in place so that your calendar is full. And what this looks like is this. Maybe on Monday and Tuesday, you allocate 2-hour blocks to just calling strangers, making new connections, new inquiries, reaching out to people, record a Loom video, send people a Loom video, write someone an email, go for the warm outreach, contact your existing clients or people in your network who can make you an introduction. That's what you do for 2 hours, 2 days a week, maybe even 3 days a week. Depends how much results you want. And just smash it out. Go for the rule of 100. Or on the content point of view, maybe that looks like, hey, you make sure you have at least 3 written posts a week going out on all platforms. Make sure you're producing at least 1 to 2 videos a week. You can now use AI to cut that up into short form, which can save you an enormous amount of time. So really, there's no excuse, because if you don't have time to generate leads for your business, to make phone calls, to create content, to set up ad campaigns, if you don't have time to do that, then what do you have time for? Because that is the future sustainability of your business. Your sales, your business will eventually die and decay if there's not new life coming in. So of all the things that you can be doing, lead generation is pretty well up there, number 1. Obviously, if you don't fulfill for your existing clients and you develop this bad reputation, then you're not going to generate any leads in the future. And in fact, most of your revenue will come from your existing clients. So obviously, deliver, fulfill, and take care of the people you already have. But lead generation is super important and certainly needs at least some of your attention each and every week. Or even if you have a team, you need to make sure you're putting in systems in place for your team and actively paying attention to what's going on in that area of your business, because it can't afford to go unchecked, because obscurity is the enemy. And if it goes unchecked, you're going to end up in feast famine or this inevitable drought where business starts to dry up, COVID hits, recession hits, new competitor enters the market. So it's lead generation is like insurance on the risks of what could be in the future. So that's my encouragement there. So number 1 was commit to 1 of 4 of the activities and apply the rule of 100. Number 2 is get systems in place and fill up your calendar. And number 3 is this Peter Drucker quote, which I've had drilled into me, is what gets measured gets managed. What gets measured gets managed. And what this means is that you need to start paying attention to metrics. All right, June, how many leads did we generate in June? How many conversations did we have? How many of those conversations turned into sales? And you have these key data points, and you and I could probably chat through some of these. And if you want to do that, go to callwithkurt.com and we can set that up for you in your business. But there's certain metrics that you want to be measuring in your business and paying attention to that's going to be indicators of both growth and progress, but also what your future results, sales, and revenue is going to be. And that's really, really important. So what gets measured gets managed. And then the other part of that is putting in some accountability in place so that you can stay consistent. So going to the personal training example, if you have a fitness program, you could go onto YouTube right now and you can look up some random person's training program that has a physique or maybe some kind of fitness goal that is similar to what you want for you, and you follow their routine and you're going to get some results. But where the problem comes in is what happens when you get busy for a few weeks, or you get a little bit overrun with work, you get a little bit tired, you get sick, and then suddenly you're thrown off your game and you go, well, I have this fitness program, but I'm just not consistent with it. Or I feel like I'm doing my squats wrong and I'm getting a sore back. And so if that's the case, one of the best things you can do is get a personal trainer to check in on you. They can either tweak your program to personalize it for you, or they can check on your progress. They can keep you accountable and be, hey, how many workouts did you do this week? That one little call reminder each and every week that you need to do that thing that you said you wanted to do. So powerful. And then also month after month, looking at your metrics. Hey, have you improved on your run time? Are you lifting more weight? Has your form improved? Are you measuring all these things? And that accountability is what's going to lead you to results. So my encouragement to you is get some accountability around lead generation in your business, because if you do and you apply the 4 strategies and the rule of 100, it's going to change everything for you, because you're going to have peace of mind having sustainability. So what I want you to do right now is we're just going to kind of imagine the positive future that would happen if we would actually do these things. So number 1, you implement those things, you start getting more leads, opportunities, and sales consistently. And then imagine this. Imagine having so much demand that increasing your prices becomes a no-brainer. Imagine that. And this is true in the wedding space. And I'm not really there yet. I've got there a little bit and I've increased prices. But when you're so in demand, you're like, well, I could do half the work or take on half the amount of jobs if I charged double. But the fear is that if you charge double, that you would lose a lot of people, and you are going to lose some. But if you've got so many leads, so much demand, so many inquiries, then you can increase your prices and still get where you want to do, but you're also then, there's less overheads and stuff like that. So if you have enough demand, if you have enough leads coming in, it's a no-brainer to increase your prices. So it's more money for doing less. Awesome, right? And the next one is, imagine if you had sustainability in your results to where there's not feast and famine, that, month over month, you're improving and you're growing. Then you could actually justify hiring and growing a bigger team. You could delegate more tasks and then free yourself up to either enjoy life more or focus on other areas of the business that are important and pursue different projects. Because like I said that at the start, that to-do list is just endless. There's always going to be stuff that's fighting for your attention. And what you need to do is work out, hey, what can I prioritize? But the good news is if you're able to get the lead generation side of your business sorted and have that sustainability in sales and growth, then that's actually going to be the thing that allows you to justify hiring people, paying for software and tools and different things, or even hiring outside agencies to kind of systematize your business and remove yourself from the mix so you can focus on other projects and other things that are important to you. So that's the goal, that's the dream, and that's ultimately what we're aspiring to. And so I'm just going to kind of wrap up and talk about my own commitment to this topic. So obscurity is the enemy. Lead generation is how we overcome it. And, when I look back at all my successes in business and in sales, whether it's a, $300,000 water treatment project, whether it's a, $4,000 wedding band package, or even if it's a $300 photography gig, whatever the case may be, all of those I can trace back to one of those 4 lead generation activities. It was either I got a referral from someone I know because I'm out there building relationships with people, or 2, it's I met a stranger, I introduced myself, I said hello, I sent an email, and then eventually it eventuated in what it was. Or number 3, I put out a piece of content and then someone reached out to me. And that's happened to me, with the weddings. We put out a music video, people reach out to us. We put then paid ads behind that content, and then we're able to reach even more people and get even more inquiries. And then it's just a matter of math, right? But what's good about all those things, whether it's content, relationships, whatever, I'm like, if I do more, then I get more. And it's crazy how we think that planning lead generation, we think that talking about it, all this stuff's going to do it. But really, you've just got to publish content, have conversation with lots of people, encourage people to introduce you to others. And then if the math makes sense, pump money behind the content that works. And then you're going to reach more people and you're going to get sustainable leads. And then you can sustainably grow your business and then eventually delegate and build the lifestyle and the brand and the business that you actually want. So that's kind of the dream, and that's what we're working towards. And I'm really preaching to myself here because I'm like, I know these 4 strategies. Which ones am I going to double down on? And how can I put even more accountability in place to make sure all this stuff happens so that I too don't neglect it? So what I want to do is I want to leave you with one last thing to remember. And I've wrote something down here, so I'm going to read it to you. Next time you find yourself in a sales drought where you are uncertain about the coming weeks and months, when you feel trapped, like you can't forward plan or you're not sure how it's all going to work out, then that's when you need to realize the battle you are in. You are at war, and your enemy, our enemy, is obscurity. The only way to defeat him is through the consistent application of the 4 lead generation strategies. So the enemy is obscurity, and the only way to defeat him is through those 4 strategies executed consistently. Now, if you want clarity on how you can execute those 4 strategies in your context, in your business, for your brand, and you want some help with accountability, so like I said before, someone to help you keep you on track and make sure what needs to get measured is getting measured, then I would encourage you to go to callwithkurt.com. So callwithkurt with a C, all one word, .com, and you can schedule a call with me. And then on that conversation, I'm going to help you any way I can. I'm either going to point you in the direction of resources that can help you. We're going to come up with whatever those metrics are for your business, for lead gen. We can talk about the nitty gritty of how to execute those different things. Or even just, maybe it could even be that accountability for you. Either way, it's a conversation designed to help you. Maybe you become a client, maybe not. Maybe you become a client 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 24 months from now, or never at all. Either way, it's my way of putting out content that's going to build relationships with people and build that goodwill towards me and my brand, and hopefully generate consistent leads for the next 3, 6, 12, 24 months and build the sustainability that I want for my business. But really everything I'm just saying, I'm also saying to you too for your context. Hey, so thanks for watching this whole video. I really, really appreciate your time. I hope it was worth watching the whole thing. I hope I've got that message of obscurity is the enemy really hidden home for you. And I wish you all the best in building a sustainable business and really, really flourishing. So hope to speak to you soon. Thanks again for watching the video, and I'll see you around.